its way back. Some love stories begin at the altar. Some begin with a first date. But this one begin again. After silence, after distance, after becoming friends, after 14 years of living separate lives, 14 years of healing, 14 years of growth, 14 years of wondering if what once was could ever be again. Because sometimes life writes chapters we never planned, pages filled with heartbreak, lessons, and letting go. But God, He has a way of turning pages we thought were finished, of restoring what felt lost, of breathing life back into promises that once stood broken. This is not just a story about love returning. It's a story about grace, about timing, and about two people who found their way back to the covenant they once walked away from. 14 years of being divorced, love knocked again. And this time, they answered. Welcome to the Unlimited You show. Now let's talk about it. What's up?
Yeah.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
Good. Baby, did you like that?
Bro!
Baby, did you like that?
I did. It's nice. Yes, I
Rock
did.
mine.
What up, sis?
Hey. All right. Look, let me see who all we got tuning in tonight. Super excited about tonight. This is going to be this is part one of an amazing conversation that we're going to have tonight. We got Rock Man, got our brother on the mic. He going to be hosting tonight.
Right.
Yeah, hosting the Unlimited You show.
The host.
I'm trying to tell you, look, I'm gonna step aside and let him do the talking.
Yeah.
Right. You ready, Rock Man?
Yeah, I'm ready. All
right. Who we got tuning in tonight? Hey, Mama.
Mama.
Yeah, she said, hey. Hey, Mama. Yeah, we getting ready to do this thing. So y'all know, for those of you that know, those of you that do not know, I released my memoir, my book about my life, and a lot of the part of that book consists of me and my husband. Used to be ex-husband. For 14 years. So we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to kind of let you guys in on just a few nuggets as far as what love looked like, how, even some challenges that we begin to see, and how we journeyed through, how we grew through. So there's going to be different parts to this. And so, and I was talking to my husband and asking him what he thought about it. He's like, wow, I think that'd be really good, because a lot of people don't talk about it. They don't talk about, you don't hear many things like that at all, or what people go through emotionally, mentally, when life begins to happen in their relationships, especially in marriage. So, Rock Man,
what up?
What's your thoughts?
What's my thoughts?
Before we get into these questions.
before we get to the questions,
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts, I think, is just amazing. Like you said, love reestablished. You know what I mean? And to go through, go through the things that y'all went through. You know what I mean? Being apart from each other and managing to do things, in the proper way, knowing that there was challenges, there were some things that y'all went through together that was tough, apart that was tough, and then just to really be able to get yourselves focused, you know, with your walk with Christ, and bro, not knowing, like, man, I'm growing, I'm changing, but not really having any idea that God was orchestrating the changes in you and the things you had to go through before He brought y'all two back to each other. You know what I mean? To do it the right way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
some people move through marriages, and you know you don't I guess you really don't understand if you're doing it the right way or the wrong way. You know what I mean? If that makes sense, because
Yeah.
people, I like celebrities, right? So you know how they treat marriages like it's a transaction, and people today, you don't see a lot of marriages that last. They use it. It's just they don't really understand the severity of what marriage means.
Right.
You know, good, bad, ugly, win, lose, draw. you know, if you in it, God heard what you said.
Come on.
So you know, he had to take y'all both and break y'all to redistribute y'all. Now, not only is he redistributing the two of you together, y'all redistributed. He got y'all redistributing y'all to other people, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's good. Yep, I like that, babe. What are your immediate thoughts?
Well, a lot along the lines what Rock said, because we really didn't have any idea. We at that time we were just going, and we had no idea where we were going. You know,
Right.
we were young and had kids, and we didn't really know which way we were headed.
Right.
And I think 42, come back around full circle. It's a really good thing.
Right.
That it's because you don't see it often.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Uh,
Sometimes people do need time to grow. You know.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah. It's this part in y'all know my man Gary Chapman. Before you get into the questions, Rock Man, that we want to dialogue about.
Okay.
Um, Doctor. Oh, Gary, I'm putting a doctor on your name, honey. Gary Chapman, the one that wrote the Five Love Languages.
Yep.
It's this book that he has several books that's written, but he has this one. It's called "The Love Language That Matters Most" by Gary Chapman and Leslie Parrott. Right? Listen to this. He says, "Why love is a language worth mastering." So he says the most important love language is the one that matters most to the person in front of you, your loved one. And when someone learns to express love in our language, it resonates deeply. It fills our emotional tank. Knowing your partner's love language doesn't mean you automatically speak it fluently. Far from it. Like any other skill, a foreign language takes practice intentionality, and mastery. The real transformation happens when you learn how to consistently express. There he goes. Rockman, can you hear us? We lost him. But it says the real transformation happens when you learn how to consistently express love in their personalized vernacular. I thought that was so important. He says the most important love language is the one that matters most to the person in front of you.
Yeah.
Your loved one. And when he said knowing your partner's love language doesn't mean you automatically speak it fluently. It takes practice, intentionality, and mastery. So I thought that was very fitting for where we're going with you and I talking, having a conversation with old Rock Man.
Yep.
Can y'all hear me still?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay.
We lost you for a minute, huh?
Yeah.
Take it away, Rock Man. It's all you.
All right. So let's start with the foundation.
Okay.
All right. So how did the two of you first meet?
Wow. Dang, that was, man, babe, what, 32 years ago?
Yep.
32 years ago we met.
Yep.
I was 17 and he was 20, 20
Yep.
or 21, 20,
20.
because I was getting ready to turn 18. And today, look, this year I'll be 49. He'll be 52. So 32 years, right? So we met in Colorado Springs, Colorado, Carmel Apartments. Man, Carmel Apartments. So I had my apartment, he had his, me and my auntie shared. You know, we was roommates. And we would see him. We would see him all the time. Back then, you know, because my husband, because he served 25 plus years in the army. So back then he was in the service, right? And I would see him drive up. You know, you hear him. You hear he was in Funky Red,
Mm-hmm.
and Funky Red was beaten. And I'm like, who in the heck is this? They are beaten. I mean, the car was thumping the speaker. I was like, wow, who was that? So I was saying, we would look at me and my auntie looking out the window of our apartment, right? And I'm looking out the window. I'm like, who is that? So he gets out and I'm like, oh, okay. I said, that's that guy that live across the hall, ain't he? I said, and that's the one be, you know, playing Jodeci, love you for life, and all type of stuff, right? Jodeci. But he jamming. I'm like, man, you know, that was right up my alley because I love that. But then the minute I seen him get out the car, I was like, oh, he in the military. I said, oh no, because there was a stigma behind military men, and I said, no, I definitely ain't finna fool with him. He in the military. Nope, they ain't about nothing. And so we you know, we just kept it moving, right? And I would see him all the time. And Jeremy he was like 10, 11 months at
Mm-hmm.
the time. And every time Jeremy would see him, because when we would be leaving, going out, he would be coming up or going down, and Jeremy would see him every time. And he'd be like, hi, hi. And he just literally he initially he wanted to acknowledge him, you know, and I'm like, boy, don't be talking to strangers. You don't know him. You know, you don't know him. Don't be talking to him like, mm-mm. And so we would say hi, and he was like, "Hey, little man," and then we just kind of keep it moving, right? So that's how we met. Babe, do you want to add anything to that?
uh, no, you covered pretty much everything because that's exactly how we met. That's how everything came about. You know,
So
yeah, it was different because yeah, every time I saw him, he was flagging me down.
Yeah. Nay, nay. Hey, nay, nay. She said, I'm here. Hey, Nay Nay. All right, Rockman, go ahead.
So what drew the two of y'all to each other?
I think, well, I had already seen him a few times, but when Jeremy would do what he do, every time, every time they would see me, it was always, like she said, hi, hi. I'm like, hmm. So one day I was like, I think I'm gonna try to talk to her and see, what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I left a note on her car, and it went from there. Yeah.
Call me. Call.
Yeah, yeah. So he said he left a note on my car, which is very true. But in that, I still have that note to this day, you guys. And it was keepsake, but I still had a note. And he said, "Hi." He said, "Hi, Keisha," because on my Cavalier, I had my name on my car back then, right? So that's how he knew my name.
Hmm.
He was like, "I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm the one I've been watching you for a while." And he was like, "I thought that I would, say hi and give you my phone number if you would just give me a call so we can talk." So he put his phone number on the bottom of the note, but guess what happened? He put the wrong phone number. So he put he put the wrong phone number. So it took me about a day, and I was like, "Let me call this number." And so I called him, and the old man was like, "Oh no, this is no Willie. This is no Willie." I was like, "Oh, this is the number he gave me. I do apologize for that." And I was like, how he gonna give me the wrong dang number, ain't he?" So she was like, yeah, right, right. And so he was that next day I had tried to call him, and you don't call immediately because you don't want to, you don't want to look thirsty or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to even make it seem like you extra interested, right? And and so at first I was like, I ain't fooling with him, but he was in the service, y'all. Let me explain something to you. This man, he has always played football. So y'all know I love the broad shoulders and the muscles and stuff and all that, right? So he possessed all that, and I'm looking like, dang. I said he fine, and he swole. I was like, Lord have mercy. I said, oh, I ain't finna talk to him. I ain't finna do that. But and then I would see him, and he was so polite, and I was like, Keisha, now you what's the code? Don't even think about it. But and then when he gave me the wrong number, I was like, see, I knew he wasn't about nothing. Yeah, I ain't whatever. So I saw him the next day, and I was yelling out the window, "How you gonna give me the wrong phone number?" He was like, "Huh?" And I was like, gave me the wrong phone number. So he come up to the door, and then he was like, I apologize. He was like, "What number did I put on there?" And I told him, and he was like, "Oh, he had two numbers switched." I said, somebody must have been nervous.
I was going to say, like, whoa, he was nervous. He was like, about 6'4".
Right. I said, yeah, somebody must have been nervous, but that's what, drew us to him. And he was every time I would see him, he was very pleasant, very polite. He acknowledged my son. And that there in itself was like, wow, he might be a cool dude. And so yeah, I actually called his real phone number, and then we began to talk.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me. I seen how fine he was, and he had them muscles and stuff, and then he loved music too, and then he was playing Jodeci and Sweat. I was like, oh shoot, he all right with me.
You know,
Yeah.
R&B music.
Uh
That's back when a good R&B music. That's when music was real music.
man, come
Mhm.
on,
Yep.
Yeah.
trying to tell you. Yeah. Yep. But that's what drew us to each other, Rock Man.
So so what was y'all first impression of each other? Like what was y'all first impression as y'all you know, what was y'all impression when y'all first saw each other and then what was y'all impression when y'all actually started to talk a little bit?
Well, it was for me. That first impression was like, golly,
Yeah,
you know, we she fine.
yeah,
That was my first impression. Then I got to seeing them all the time, and Jeremy was always flagging me down. Then when we did start talking, you know, it was like it was kind of raw. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
She was young, I was young. We didn't know which way we was going. We didn't know up from down. you know, but then when we got together and started really knowing each other, I'm like, oh, this could be pretty good.
yeah,
But like I said, we was young and we didn't. I had certain expectations,
right,
but she didn't know, and vice versa. I didn't know either. Only thing I knew was how I was raised, and
right,
I expected things to be the same, you know,
right,
but things really don't. They really don't turn out the way things change over time, and everybody got everybody go through things, and then they begin to realize, hey, maybe the way I was raised wasn't the right way.
right.
And those are the things that I was going through, at that time, because like I said, I was raised a certain way, and I thought and expected those same things,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
Yeah. My, my first impression, like I was sharing with you guys, he seemed like he was a nice guy. Um, and then, like you said, when we start talking, um, he was hearing me. You know what I'm saying? I was young, but he there was interest in what interests me. And then, early on, even with establishing, friendship or whatever, before we started officially dating, he was teaching me things that he had learned since he had been in the service, and so he, like you said, I was raised a certain way, but then when I went off, he was in the military and he learned structure. He learned all kind of stuff, right? He learned how to budget, all of that. And he never, he was just real gentle. Should I, put it like that? He was gentle. And I was like, man, he hears me. He expressed interest in where life had taken me or where I had come from, and vice versa. And so he was sharing, we were sharing with each other, just really getting to know one another, and understanding, man, this
right.
this might be it, for me. So we just began. So that was my
Yeah,
first impression, like, because he was very, and as a mother, um, and I had my child, I had Jeremy, and for him to acknowledge Jeremy, because some people will be like, "Oh, hey, little dude, keep it moving. Don't even really talk to him, nothing. Just move, just keep going." But
right,
he would, every time he would stop, he would just be getting off from work. He would stop and literally talk to Jeremy, mess with him a little bit. Hey, little dude, when Jeremy was happy, hanging on his legs and everything. And I'm like, man, he was like, and how you doing? But then he would show interest in how my day was, So he was in the beginning, it was very gentle. So that was a really good impression for me, and for him to acknowledge my baby was everything.
Right. So, so through y'all meeting each other and getting to a place where y'all got your first impressions. Let's see where this takes us. And as y'all start moving through, you know, um, I think the most amazing part for the two of y'all was that neither one of you had no one else. You know what I mean? So the ground was there for it was there for it was open.
Right,
You know what I mean? So y'all were able to have a little bit more focus with each other because that's what it was. You know.
right.
So when did through all of that, when did y'all realize and how was it vocalized between the two of you that y'all were, hey, I'm falling in love.
Yeah, for me it was I really didn't know what love was. I
Okay.
thought I thought I knew, but I didn't. I really didn't know. I was running around. I knew she was special to me. And I
Right.
loved her, but I really didn't know what love meant.
Right.
And at a young age, when you see certain things, you think that's the way things are supposed to be.
Right.
You know, but it really wasn't.
Right.
But then she's always, ever since I met her, she's always been very special.
Right.
Even when we were divorced, always. Always been number one. And that's probably a lot of the reason why I went different ways and things didn't work out. Because maybe it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
I can't say that I really can't say when I knew I was falling in love because I really didn't know what in falling in love meant. I
So
knew I knew it was special.
right. Right. And you've always held her dear to your heart because hey, it's special.
Exactly. So I can't say when like I can't say when I fell in love. I could from the first time I seen her, I could say I was in love. You know,
Right.
but my actions showed different.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Yeah. 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 And like you said, with not knowing
Yeah.
what you saw and how you were raised was completely different from what we saw and how we were raised.
Yes.
So we saw a lot of different things that we knew. We're like, man, that's crazy, or but we had examples of, you know, what love looked like. We aunts and uncles and grandma, nana, and grandpa. I knew when them two would interact with each other. It's like, what, man? I'm gonna be like my grandpa one day, sitting in the front yard on a chair, poking at the grandkids while my wife come out there and tell me to stop it. And we just had that we just knew, like, okay, Mama said enough. I guess I better settle down. You know, it didn't
Mhm.
stop from poking at us and doing crazy stuff,
Right.
but you know, I understand that. We had Aunt Kay and Uncle Andre. You know, so we saw what love looked like, and so we had a lot of different examples. But it was just really it was up to us to what parts you know that we take from that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
So true. Yeah. We definitely have those as examples. And that's what pretty much what I would base it off of. You know, I would say I don't know a specific time when I realized I was fall. No, let me take that back because I think when he had got orders to go to Cuba, and I mean he just literally, like I said, he would write me letters. You know that old school writing letters, and you get a letter in the mail, and you know that somebody care. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, this dude, he really do. This man really do care. He writing me from Cuba, you know, because he got sent over there for a while, and even while he was there, he took the time to call me. You know, he was like, "Let me call," so we would be able to speak to one another. And shoot, when he was in Cuba, and one what he told me was, he was like, "I want to make you my wife," and I'm like, "Dang." You know, and for me, it was a little scary because I had, in the middle of us conversating and all this time, right? I had expressed to him what I had already gone through with men. So I was nervous, you know, didn't know how to move forward. And when he said that, I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, I'm in my mind, I'm like, okay, is he serious or what? You know what I'm saying? And then so yeah, just kind of built on from there. But then when he was home, me and my ace from the crib, we used to work at it was, I forget the name of it out right now, but we used to work together, right? And he literally came to my job. Now we not dating or nothing. We just talking, getting to know one another, right? Rockman.
Yeah.
He comes to the job and I'm working, and my cousin was like, there go Mr. Greene. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, look over there. Now he coming on your job. What's up with that? And I was like, oh Lord. I said, this man that came on my dang job. She said, stalker. And so so I was like, oh my gosh. So it was just that was sweet to me. And I was coming up on my birthday. And he literally came to my job to ask me. It was close to quitting time, you know, we got off. But he was like, I want to take you somewhere. I think will be special. And I'm like, okay, now I'm nervous because we ain't really hung out. We talk on the phone, but we ain't really hung out like that, right? And so I'm like, take me somewhere. I'm like, okay, where you trying to take me? And he was like, it's all right. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be nice. You're gonna love it. And so I told my cousin, I was like, so I'm gonna go on and ride with him. He gonna take me home. She was like, where y'all going? And so I said, I don't know, but you know, we've been talking for a while and getting to know one another. So I think he'll do me right. You know, he'll take care of me. And she was like, okay. She said, you call me if you need anything. And I'm like, okay. So she went on home and I went with him, and it was kind of late. And he was like, I got this place that I want to take you. And he literally drove us in the mountains to, y'all know what Palmer Park is, and drove me up to Palmer Park. And literally it was nighttime at this time. And he pulled out a box and he was like, happy early birthday. And I'm like, what? You got me a birthday gift? What? And it was green. It was some green and black Reeboks, high tops. You remember them Reeboks, Rockbang? Babe, I know you remember. You know, I literally just got rid of them high tops probably about a year ago, if that, right? So I had them forever, but I never would wear them. I wore them a couple of times, but I just had them. You know, I'm one that I'll hold on to stuff if it's sentimental, right? And so he pulled out those shoes, and then he was like, come on. He was like, so we got out the car and we went and stood at the top of the mountains, and he was like, just stand here and just look at this. He was like, this is one of my favorite places to come. And he was like, I thought you would really like this place. And I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. And you know how the top of Palmer Park is, at the top of the mountain, where you can see Colorado Springs and all the lights, and
Yep.
and then you see the whole city, right? And I just stood there like in awe, like, and for him to take the time to, do this for me was special. And so that was the beginning of me literally falling for him. Like, man, he genuinely cares about me. I think he loved me. You know what I'm saying? So that's a part of what really kind of got me in the beginning when I knew that I was falling for him, and I'm like, man, this a good dude. He's a good man, and for him to take the time, and he was like, yeah, I remember your birthday is coming up, and you're gonna be 18. I was 17, but yeah, about to be 18 years old, and he took the time to do that for me. So I was like, yeah, he probably the one.
So, so let's fast forward. Okay, so now let's fast forward through life a little bit, and let's get to your marriage. So y'all.
Mm,
So what were some of the happiest moments? Some of the happiest moments in y'all marriage.
man, babe, I'll let you start.
the In the beginning, some of the happiest moments, we used to take quite a few road trips. You know, those were it was challenging because I would always end up driving the whole way. You know, but we would take road trips. Us and the kids, and it gave us time to talk and to see what was going on with each other inside of our own minds. Because at that time we were all over the place. She was working, going to school. I was working, going to school, playing football, doing a lot of different things. Still in the military. So we was all over the place, and we didn't have a lot of time for each other. But
Right,
we used to take those trips, and that would give us time, to do some catching up, pretty much.
right,
And I thought that was really some good times for us. And we did. We spent a lot of time in restaurants. You know,
yeah,
we spent a lot of time in restaurants. And at the movies. So things were good. You know,
yeah,
but life happens. Life happens.
right,
And then things start to happen, and we did grow apart because I think we took for granted. You know, the things for each other we took for granted.
right,
Sometimes you get in that mind frame to where, oh man, oh, it's gonna be okay. Whatever. And next thing you know, you're going down a whole different road.
yeah,
But those were some of the happiest times for us, I think. The road trips and stuff, because we was always on the road. At that time we ain't had nothing, and we was just riding.
yeah,
Right.
We had just enough to get where we was going
yeah.
and get back.
That's
Rockman, were you going to say something before I share?
uh I was gonna say that's usually like the best. I mean, you have really good time, but it almost seems like when you have just enough,
Yeah,
you gonna make you're gonna have time, and that's the real part of that's another form of intimacy because when you don't have much, you ain't
yeah,
got you got each other. You know,
yep,
you're like, hey, I got your back, you got mine. We ain't got much, but look, we got each other.
Right. Right.
And so I understand what you're saying there 100% with when you don't have much, you know,
yep,
know you got each other, and that's another form of intimacy. It's you get that time with each other. It's like intimacy while you driving, you're taking a road trip, and when it wasn't a whole lot of extra going on. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Distraction. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah.
that's true. Yeah, that is so true.
Go ahead, sis.
Oh, my sissy is on. Hey, sissy. Love hearing your story. Oh, it's my sissy. Yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Rockman. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Okay, but the happiest moments, I'm gonna piggyback off of Babe because that for me, that was everything when we were able to just get away, and he taught me how to drive on the highway, literally, because I didn't know how to drive. You know, the highway scared, and so one time we were coming back from Kansas, and he was like, "Do you want to drive?" I was like, "No, I'm scared. I don't want to drive. I ain't drove no distance like this before." And he was like, "Just keep." He said, "Just keep your eyes on the road. Pay attention to where we need to, turn off on. This is where we going, right?" And so I was like, "Okay, I can do this. I can do this." And I'm driving. He falls asleep, and I'm driving. I'm driving, and we almost to Nebraska. Now I was supposed to turn off so we can go the opposite direction to go back to Colorado. he wakes up,
Yep.
and he's like, babe, this don't look familiar. And I was like, yeah, baby, we rolling, we're going back home, we're going to Colorado. And he was like, no, it don't look familiar to me. And I was like, well, shoot, where we at then? He was like, babe, you don't know. I said, no. I'm driving. You didn't tell me what exit we supposed to take. And so he was like, oh Lord. So he looking, he's like, Nebraska. He's
Yeah.
like, girl, you didn't took the you didn't kept on driving. So when
No,
we
we did.
so we went down a little bit further, and then he's like, okay, no, we need to turn around. So we
Oh,
turned
did.
around, and he got us back on track, but he didn't go back to sleep. The
No.
rest of the trip, right? So I mean, he taught me how to drive the highway. He literally did, and you guys know today. And I told him all the time because now he be wanting me to catch a flight everywhere. And I said, babe, I said, you taught me years ago how to drive. And when you moved, you left, when we divorced, guess what I continued to do? I continued to drive. I was on the highway. I'm rolling. Today, I call it my highway therapy because I still roll and I love it. And so that there, he created that. I tell him, I said, you the one created a monster because I love it now and I will go in a heartbeat and I love it. Just me and my time with God, my music, and I will hit the highway in a minute. Now today he don't like to drive. He said, no, I'm good. He don't even like to drive to Colorado, and it's only 5 hours. I said, I got it. I'm good. so
Yep.
so I think that was one of the best moments. And our entertainment going and doing stuff, or we would go eat, go to the movies. So we would go to the movies, go eat often, and sometimes we would hit the highway when we had the funds to go. And that today, I still love it, every bit of it. I will go catch a movie in a minute. I like to eat. That's the way to my heart. You take me get some food, yeah, and then let me roll. Let me get on the highway. And so that's the moments, the memories that I really can hold on to. Before we go to the next question, Rockman, that you have, let's see what they're saying. Okay, when you guys are done with this, I want to know what it took for you guys to realize you were for each other. Ooh, that's good.
Go ahead, son. That's Jaden.
Oh, that's Nugget. Show is. Oh, that's Nugget. All right, I'm gonna leave that question up, babe, so we can see it and we can kind of reference it. So, when we realized that we were for each other, man, Nugget, I think in the beginning, like babe say, things begin to change, but in the beginning, I think just really having each other's back before before the tug of war, before we
Yeah,
begin to go opposite directions because we lost vision, we lost focus on what was really important. But I think to answer that question, when we really realized we were for each other is after we divorced, baby. Just to be
yeah,
honest, just
yeah,
to be honest, I think it was after we divorced and we became best friends.
yeah,
That's when we realized that. And the thing about it is even that, I just knew that I always had his back and that I'd always love him. I prayed for Uncle Willie even when we were divorced. So I think really after we divorced, I was angry with him. And then we became best friends, and years had went past, and we'll get into that's a different another part to this, right? That we'll talk about that, but we'll go a little bit deeper into that. But I realized um, that Willie Green really had my back, and we had each other's back. When he needed something, when we were divorced, he would call me. When I had a question, I would call him. So when we divorced, it allowed us time to really see we had one another for real. But while we were married, we knew that we had something good, but it was just different things that caused us to forget what we saw in the very beginning in each other, right?
yeah.
So for me, that's when I realized that we were for each other. And actually, that's when I moved to New Mexico about 6 years ago. That's when I really realized that because uh, that's what I was sharing with your uncle. When we started really getting closer and talking, and I started feeling him pulling on me to be back together. That's when I realized that we were for each other, and he really had me. So, and especially after we lost Jeremy, um, Uncle Willie showed up for me like never before, and I didn't even have to ask for anything, but he was there. I wasn't in Georgia. I wasn't working, having a hard time finding employment. And he literally showed up, and he's like, I got y'all. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Because it was a bad time. It was a bad place. Um, and that's when I was like, is there still something here with Will? And then I'm like, no, we good. We good the way that we are because we have became best friends. So I would do anything to keep that relationship going because we were friends, really good friends. When he was going through what he was going through, I was there as a shoulder. When I was going through what I was going through, he was there as a shoulder and support. So, babe, I'm gonna let you answer that as well. When did you realize that?
It's a lot of the same. Also, as we go through life and things change, then we start to realize certain things. You do realize the people that do have your back. The ones that are there for you. Especially, when it's a couple and you're going through these things. And yes, and when we did divorce, but we remained friends. There was no ill will or anything, no
Mm-mm.
negativity out of it. We remained friends, and things just kind of fell where they were supposed to fall.
Right,
Sometimes you do play tug of war, because you get caught up, but a lot of times you sit back and think, is it even really worth it? Cause look where we at now.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it took us some time apart to realize it. You know, but sometimes that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a lot of it. Cause we did become best friends.
We literally did, and
That was
we didn't
y'all
have
ran.
that. Didn't have that when we were married. We didn't because it always felt like it was a struggle. We had our good moments, but for a lot of the time, it felt like it was a struggle. To really show up for each other. I'm like, because when you guys read, my book or read the book, you'll see in there I said that I never felt like I was enough. You know what I'm saying? Because it was always something. Because I knew what I knew through how I was raised. He knew what he knew through how he was raised. And that's what we took into the relationship. And understanding this, we were two broken people that got together. He went through some things and I went through some things. So we were broken when we got together. But we didn't work them things out for real. We didn't know how. We were young,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, babe, I think that for me is exactly the same time. But I will tell you this nugget. Before me and Uncle Willie divorced, I told him, and he can remember this, is I said, we're not going to be the typical divorcees. I said, I prayed and asked God that we would like each other and we will be able to coexist and
yeah,
raise these kids together. And I told him that. I said, I'm praying because God gave me the instruction to divorce him because there needed to be a severance, there needed to be a separating so he could get to him and he can get to me. And I told God when we divorced, I said, I will never, ever again elevate another man or anybody above you. It's me and you. Now let's continue to walk. And I tell you this, it was, it was hard, because we didn't have two incomes anymore. It was
yeah,
just me. You know what I'm saying? It was a challenge, and that was being afraid of the unknown. But I told him, we're in the courtroom getting ready to go through our divorce, and we're sitting next to each other and we're seeing other couples bring in they other person, right? And me and Willie Green, we lean over and we tell each other. I told Willie Green, I said, I wish you would have brought your up in here. We would have been fighting, but
Yeah.
that's how God did that. We were able to be in the same place, still be able to talk, still be able to begin to establish some type of friendship because of God, only because of God.
yeah,
That
Because
was
there
the
was,
ending, new beginning.
go ahead, Rockman, what'd you say?
The ending before the new beginning.
Right, right. Yeah. And I prayed and I asked God, I said, help us through this, walk us through it, Father, because we're not going to be the typical. And we like Babe said, we didn't have those issues. We weren't being disrespectful to one another. We weren't cursing out one another. We went through some things. We hurt, but it was never like that. And that's because I held on to the foundation of my God, my Heavenly Father. And I told him, no, we are not going to do this the typical way. And look today, how our whole time had passed with us. We didn't have those issues. And then God brought it full circle and where we at today because I followed instructions. You know how God gave Noah specific instructions how to build the ark? He gave Keisha in specific instructions on how to divorce my husband with integrity
yeah,
and character. And many people will say, "Girl, you better take him for everything he got. You better because you are old. You're entitled to this." And when we left, guess what? I didn't leave with nothing but my peace and my sanity. And that began the work.
yeah,
That began the work that God was already setting out. As far as for the two of y'all, He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna, because he needed you to himself. You know, like you said, he needed to go to work on bro. He needed to go to work on you.
Right.
And that's amazing because if you didn't have if you didn't know his that small still voice, who knows where y'all would have been. You continue to pray for bro
Yes.
and keep that covering for him, and like those struggles, between the two of you. Bro had some struggles, you had some struggles. You went through some things, bro went through some things, but y'all was able to grow. Um, y'all was able to grow through the things that y'all went through.
Right.
Yeah.
Not not even knowing that, okay, yeah, God's gonna bring us back together. I don't know how, I don't know when, but as long as I know that I'm doing my part and that prayer, I strongly believe that since you were praying for bro, that his heart light,
Right.
Yeah.
regardless of what he went through, strong for him, it kept his a heart, a light heart. Because
Right.
what that's my wife is praying, keep a praying, somebody praying for me,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
Yeah.
and
That's right.
and from your faith and your walk with Christ, when he brought bro back, and throughout the years, bro knows he's like, man, that's a as long as you got that foundation, and
Yeah.
and you held on to that foundation.
Right. Right.
Foundation of marriage, not the foundation of you and bro. You held on to the foundation of your personal walk with Christ and being obedient to the things that had you doing. And that
Right.
came easy because we know God will tell you, He'll put some things on you, and you be like, "You want me to do that,
Right.
bro?
Right.
No, man. Don't
Yeah.
it
That is
just
so
it
true.
set out like that." So the both of you went east, and you can run as far east as you want to, but you're always going back east.
Yeah.
You know,
Where he want us to be. Right.
that's right.
Mama
That's
said, I
right.
love it. Y'all are blessed. Look, she said, look at God. Yes, Mama. Thank you. But yeah, that's Nugget. I hope that answered your question, baby. But that was a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Anybody else got any questions y'all asked too? But Rock Main, it's on you, baby.
All right. So looking back now, uh, what were some of the challenges, you know what I mean, that started to appear?
Challenges within the first marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, I always, I always put, you know, I've never mind helping other people. Trying to, do the right thing. But I think one thing I had to do, I had to get over myself because I had issues with I didn't hang around long enough, you know, for you to make a choice if it was going to be this way or that way. I didn't hang around long enough. It was this way or it was no way. That's the way. That's the way I felt about it.
Right.
And I thought that so the biggest challenge for me was having to get over myself. And then when you're going through and you're dealing with other people, and you done got over yourself, and then you putting other people first, then they dragging you through the mud, and it's like, you know, what the crap?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you get to a point, and it's like, you know what? I gotta do what's best for me and mine.
Yeah.
So because yes, I did have some issues because I wouldn't really say selfish, but it was mostly about me, you know. And if it wasn't about me, if it couldn't be this way, then it was okay. I was going. I wouldn't hang around long enough to find out, because I can't say I didn't care, but it didn't mean as much to me as it does now.
Right.
And that was a part of the process of growing up and being able to be there for them, and still have my own dignity, my own integrity, and just realize that it's not, just about me and how I feel.
Right.
Because for a long time, that's what mattered the most. And that was the hardest thing for me. I think was to get over myself. Where
Yeah,
you go?
I know. There you go. Can you, Rockman, can you hear us? There. Okay, there you go. So I was literally will say the same thing. Because it was I wasn't when I felt that I was unseen and my thoughts didn't matter, then it literally caused me to feel less than, because I used to tell him, okay, drill sergeant, keep work at work, don't bring it at home, don't bring it home, because you at home and you treating us like your soldiers. And it was either his way or no way. And he would say things, um, that I had never seen anybody like you, and in my mind there's something wrong with me, because I wasn't doing things the way that he said to do them and when he said to do them. So that's why I said it was a tug of war, because he said I had to get over myself, because it was either my way or no way. Whatever you thought, whatever you thought, it don't matter. It matters what I say. So
Right.
that was the beginning of the challenges that we had begin to face.
Yeah,
So I think that's amazing, bro, for you to have the accountability and to understand yourself at that time. You know what I mean? That's amazing because most men wouldn't tell you. Most men not gonna say, "Hey, man, I ain't stick around long enough, bro. I was selfish.
yeah,
I was selfish, and like you said, you were like, hey, it's either gonna be like this or nothing. But that's amazing. That's accountability on your part, and very aware of self.
yeah, yeah. You gotta you, when you think about it, you gotta keep it real with
Yeah,
yourself
Right.
first.
yeah,
And if I can't keep it real with myself, I can't be real with nobody else.
Come
that's
on.
right.
You
That's
know,
right. That's right. That's right.
I have to be able to acknowledge, the path that I took.
Yeah,
Because I made those choices.
Right.
right,
You know,
right.
and it all came around full circle. This is where we're
Yeah,
supposed to be. Sometimes it take a longer route to get somewhere.
yeah.
Back in them days when she was driving and I was trying to go to sleep and she's taking us totally somewhere else. We ain't had no GPS then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We ain't had no GPS. We had a map.
Come on.
You know, and if you can't read that map, you're in trouble.
Right.
Right,
Yep.
Oh,
right.
he had the atlas, that's for sure. But I absolutely love that, babe, because you just said something so profound. And then Nene, I see your question, baby. We're gonna get to it. But you said back then we didn't have a GPS.
Nope.
We had we had to navigate
Yep.
through that atlas, right?
Yep.
And that's in life as well. We didn't have a GPS. We thought we didn't, but our GPS was the BIBLE, basic instructions before leaving Earth, right? And
Right.
really tapping in to God and allowing Him to really direct our paths. Back then, we didn't. We
Yep.
allowed each other. We directed each other's path.
Yep.
We didn't. It was no okay. Well, the wisdom for we young. Father, help us with this. And what way should we go? We didn't ever ask that question. We
Nope.
asked, we talked to each other. But then he had the final say. He made the decisions for us. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't have the GPS. We
Yep.
didn't have God pointing us to the right direction because we didn't acknowledge him. We didn't ask him for wisdom in
Right.
that. So that was so good, babe, because you said back then we had no GPS. We
We did.
did, but we didn't follow it.
Yep.
That's like you said, you don't read that map. If you can't read the map, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. Yes,
That's right.
right.
You're gonna end up somewhere you didn't have no business, so you might want to turn around.
Yep.
Come on. And he got us back on the right course. And so with today, same thing. We didn't follow that GPS, but later
Yep.
on, like we were able to walk through some things, and now I get the direct instruction from our Father, and then
Right.
we bounce it off of one another, and that's how we roll, that's how we flow,
Yep.
that's how we make decisions, because back
Right.
then we didn't, right?
Cause we ain't know.
Rockman, you want to ask your last question before we answer Nene's before we
Yep.
close it down? Okay.
So were there signs that the relationship needed deeper communication or healing?
Oh,
Say it again, Rob.
And how did you said what?
Say it again.
So were there signs that the relationship needed deeper communication or healing? And how did y'all handle those situations when you saw the signs and
mm,
you needed in that moment?
Yeah, it communication for sure and healing. Because I didn't communicate well. I know I didn't communicate well because it was always direct, and she would shut down. So our communication it wasn't good. So yes, we did need deeper communication, but we didn't know that because we didn't understand it. We was young. We had to learn. You had to learn your way sometime. And yes, it did need healing because of all the things that we went through.
Right.
We had to heal and forgive each other. You
Right.
know, especially to get where we're at now. And, and if you can't, do that and heal and forgive each other, then it's kind of a mute point. You might as well just go ahead and go your different ways. But the one thing about that, when you do go your different way, you can still have the same problem. Because if you can't communicate, communication is big, and if you can't shut up long enough to listen, that's a problem.
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. Just that's a two part statement.
Right.
That's a two-part statement. What
Yeah,
that's a compounded statement right there because most of the time we spend most of our time running our mouths, and when you talking,
yeah,
God gave ears for a reason. You can't hear Him
yeah,
if instantly, you know.
yeah,
And he does give us instruction to be slow to speak and
Mhm.
quick to listen. He gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
yeah,
2 ears. That means it's very important to listen.
yeah,
Watch this. you know. And he can tell you to this day, no matter what we went through or how anything was directed at me, I never would disrespect him with my mouth.
Mm.
Ever. I have never done that and never will. Right.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, very, very true. It wasn't healthy communication. We didn't know how to communicate. And like he said, I was very direct and I was shut down. So if you're coming at me, if you're saying something, you're coming for me or coming at me, I'm going to shut down. I'm just not going to talk because you already made a point that whatever I say don't matter. And so I didn't talk. I would shut down and I would internalize everything. And then he probably remembered this, but one day I exploded because everything was on the inside of me and it just came out. He
Yeah.
felt it. Jeremy felt it. Baby girl felt it. Baby, I remember y'all stayed outside for some hours acting like y'all was playing basketball right after we got out of church that Sunday. But they were out there because I literally went off. And baby girl remember it to this day. But I didn't communicate. I didn't know how to articulate what I was feeling because I felt condemned. I felt attacked. And so I just wouldn't talk. I wouldn't communicate because I didn't know how. And we did go to counseling. We did our pastor. We went to our pastor. You remember at Open Bible Baptist Church, babe?
Mm-hmm.
We went and actually began counseling, and he's the one that introduced us to the five love languages. And
Yeah.
I read it, and then that's when I understood what his love language was. And that's how you begin to serve one another is with their love language, right? So that helped tremendously. So we're gonna come to okay. There's Nene. Let's see. What are a couple of tips you have for couples to encourage watering each other to grow? Ooh, that's that. Ooh, I'm gonna leave that up. Nene, that's good. Um,
The
babe,
question.
I'm gonna let you share first, babe, because you do very well with this now.
Well, the first thing, you got to be able to listen, you know, not just hear what's being said, be able to listen, pay attention. You ain't always got to say something, but you just pay attention to, how things go and what's going on, and then you just show that respect to each other, because Nene, you young right now. You got a lot to learn. You gonna learn a lot. That's for sure. You're gonna go through a lot. But if you if you start out the right way, you won't have to go through as much. Listening is a big one.
Yeah.
Listening and being there. You know, I didn't used to have a lot of grace. For certain things. I don't have a high tolerance. For how you say it, babe. Things that don't make sense to me. I
Right,
don't have a high tolerance for that. You know, I'll tell you to shut up quick. But you got to be able to listen. In order to be able to understand each other, and then you feed into each other off of that.
right,
That's probably the biggest tip that I can give you. Because if you ain't listening, ain't nothing gonna flow. It's not gonna flow if you're not
Right.
listening to each other.
right,
You got to be able to see each other. You know, if you're just looking past, your partner because of something that you're focused on, it's not going to work.
right. Yep, that's really good. Thank you, babe, because
Good question.
that is a really good question because it is so important for us to water each other, and that is to encourage one another. I'm I'm constantly giving words of affirmation, affirming my husband, you know, and he just takes care of everything, you know, and I make sure I let him know, baby, thank you. Thank you. Man, I appreciate that. He's like, what are you telling me thank you for? Because you deserve it. I don't even have to say anything, and you take care of it. And that's what when he's hearing, he's listening, and he's seeing what's going on or what the need is. He knows. He even knows because I have moments. Y'all know I have moments where I'll be really missing my baby, missing Jeremy, and he'll feel me because he knows me. He has seen me, and he'll come to me, and I'll be quiet, or I'm just going on with my day, and then he might meet me in the kitchen. I'm preparing something for dinner or breakfast or something for him, you know, for us. And he comes next to me, and he looks at me, and he said, I know, it's okay. And then he hugs me and he embraces me, and he's like, it's okay. I said, he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I was like, I'm just missing Jeremy. I'm just having a day. I'll be okay. I'm just having a day. And then he'll just embrace me, and he'll just hug me. And he's like, I know, I understand. And that's watering each other. We're constantly encouraging one another. We're there for each other. You know, if there's a need that needs to be met, you know, I listened to Tamala Mann and her husband and Mr. Brown, and they said, I'm going to outserve you. They tell each other, I'm going to outserve you. You're not going to have a chance to tell somebody that I don't serve you well, I don't love you well. You know, and we do check-ins with each other, Nene, quite often. Every quarter, I make sure that we do check-ins. I'm asking, babe, are we good? You all right? Is there anything that I need to do to show up for you in this season? Because different seasons we change, and that we need something different from our person. So I make sure that we're staying and we're communicating in that manner. And he's like, yeah, babe, we good. And then we'll be dialoguing, but we keep that line of communication open, and encourage one another. You know, he get a fresh cut. I'll be like, ooh, babe, yeah, that you looking good today. That fresh cut looking good. We continue to water each other like that. You know, so hope that helped you, Nene. Um, she said that is very profound. Okay, Uncle. Oh, and you was talking about the navigation. I think that's what. Yeah, she's talking about. Yeah. And my sister said, "Heck yeah, the map days." Yeah. And look, this man here, he knew how to read that map, that atlas. I ain't know how to read that. He was like, "Babe, this is where we at right here. This is where we going. Okay, so we're gonna take this highway, and then we're gonna take this highway, and this we're gonna take the street here, this road right here, boom, 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 and then we're gonna go here." And I'm looking like, okay, just get us there, because I never learned how to read that thing, right? And had it for years, and that's what we follow, right? So praise God that I had him for that. Yet Nene said, "Oh, she said I love that." Yeah, we hope that helped you, Nene, and anybody else for that matter. And what baby girl? He had zero grace back then. Woo, girl, you better say it. He had zero grace back then. Oh, how he's grown. He's learned that you can't expect others to think like him, and he's learned that there's a way to speak to people without making them feel small. Yeah, baby girl. That's so good. That is so good. But yeah, there's the encouragement, baby. Your baby girl encouraging you.
She a mess.
That's how we ended up going to a different state. Right. Yeah, I shared that, baby girl, when we was headed to Nebraska, and your daddy fell asleep. And he was like, hold up, this don't look familiar. You and then he look up and he see a Nebraska sign. He's like, oh no, hold up. We got to turn around. So we turned around, flipped around, and then we got back home safe and sound. So yeah, so God is good, and we hope that this has helped. This is part one. Rockman, anything else you got for us, baby?
Uh, I think that was that's good. That's good. That's real
Yeah,
good. Mm. I'd like to thank everybody tonight for joining your host. I am once again Charles Moore, aka Rock Main.
AKA Rockman.
Hopefully, you guys can get back with us on part 2 and 3.
Right. Absolutely. We might just have to do that, Rockman.
Hey, I got you.
Yeah, okay. And my sissy said no high tolerance for foolishness. Yeah.
I
And
know that's right.
he don't his tolerance for foolishness is zero. He has some grace today in his older age, but yeah, back then it was zero tolerance, period. But today he does give people grace, and he hears and he listens more. So that is so good. Growth in both of us, for that matter. You know what I'm saying? So, what'd you say? Screenshotted that close up. Yes, and baby girl laughing.
Hmm.
But yeah, so we want to just thank y'all so much for part one. You know, a lot of y'all will read She Touched the Hem of His Garment, my memoir, my book about a portion of my life, right? And me and Mr. Greene have a pretty big piece of that. We were together for 18 years, married for 16 of those years. And so it was a long time. So there was a lot that went on, and even in my life before him, prior to him, and then what we walked through with losing Jeremy, and how God reestablished. And Willie Greene is the one that actually, when we were getting ready to get married, he had one of his good friends create us a plaque, and it said reestablished December 21st, 2024. And he got babe, you got that straight from God, didn't you?
Yep.
He said no, he said God reestablished us. And that's exactly what he did. And so that's why we're talking about love reestablished, right? And so there will be more parts to this that we're going to go into different, just to kind of share and to help somebody else, and even those that are preparing to be in relationships to lead to, because we don't date with just the intent to date. We date we date with the intent to marry and to have our life purpose partners, so that we can do life together, and we can be hands and feet for the kingdom here on this earth, and whatever that looks like for us individually and collectively. That's what we're doing. So me and Willie Greene are walking hand to hand, side by side. One is not before each other. We're next to each other, walking with God, and we're following instructions from Him how to do this thing called life. And that's why when I brought it to his attention what God wanted us to do, he was open, and he was like, I think this will be really good, babe. Let's do it. And then, I had to call old Rock Main, see if he wanted to go on and host. But we hope this blessed you guys so much. Let me see. You both had grown so much. Thank you, Mama. Yeah, she said we see it, and we continue to grow. Nobody will ever have arrived. We continue to grow, and we continue to learn every single day. I tell folks all the time, every single day you're supposed to learn something or grow from something. So if we can be a better version of ourselves tomorrow, Lord's willing, He wake us up, than we are today, then we doing something right.
Yep. That's right.
But thank y'all so much. We took a little bit more time, but I think this was very rewarding, baby. How you feeling?
Oh yeah, I think it was good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rock Main, hostess with the mostest.
The mostest.
How you feeling, baby?
Good. That was good.
Yeah,
That was good. I think that was real good, man. And just man to be able to just understand, for y'all to understand this is where we went wrong, or this is where I know I dropped the ball, or this is where I know I dropped the ball at. And okay, we knew we had to do this, this, and this, and this. It's just amazing that y'all both have um, accountability, you know, for yourselves and each other.
Yeah.
right,
Amazing because most people don't. You know what I mean? It's almost like you look in the mirror. Some people look in the mirror, they don't like what they see.
Yeah.
right.
And you look, y'all love what y'all see,
Come on.
and y'all were able to be able to face yourself without having to be put in a position where you had no choice.
Right, right.
You know, which is
Yeah.
which. Hey, it's amazing
Yeah,
itself. Thank
yeah,
God.
yeah. Thank God for real, for sure.
Yeah,
Because he's the one that orchestrates it all. He just does, and he might get a we might get off track, but he get us right back on track if we're willing, if we're surrendered, and if we're willing,
yeah,
then we'll get back on the right track if we follow our North Star, and our North Star is Him, right? So we want to just thank y'all so much. We're not going to take any more of y'all time tonight, but we hope this blessed y'all, and we will be. There's a couple more parts to this, so we hope it encouraged you, baby. Thank you for saying yes to, because this is not his thing, but he do it because he knows what God said, right?
Yep.
So thank you, baby. Rockman, we love you, and you stay put. But we love y'all, and until next time, good night.